Hello, everybody, and happy Mother's Day. This year on Mother's Day, we have the awesome honor. My mom gave us the privilege to ask her one question. So, all of my sisters, Kathy, Julie, Amy, and Beth, and myself, we all got one question to ask my mom. So, we are going to start right off. Happy Mother's Day, Mom.
Thank you very much.
And we're going to go in order of siblings. So, we're going to start off with Kathy's question to you. So, Kathy's question is, being that it's Mother's Day and I am your firstborn, can you think of one word that best describes your feeling at being a mom and why you chose that word?
Okay. I could probably think of a million words. And when I first heard that question, Jim, I thought you meant like when I first had her as a newborn. And I can remember that feeling. My first child, I was so filled with joy. I wanted to shout from all the windows, I'm a mother, I'm a mother, I'm a mother. But as I read that question again, I think she means me right now. What one word would I use to describe what mothering is about to me? And I've chosen the word nurturing. I think as a mother, I'm here to nurture my children. Kathy's a great gardener, and she would never leave her plants without watering them and pruning them and taking such good care of them. And I think as a mother, my children have all been given to me as a gift from God. They're only on loan, and I'm here to nurture them and bring them back to heaven someday. So nurturing.
Oh, great answer.
Thank you.
All right, our second question comes from Julie. She has a 5-part question for you.
Wow.
What part of Dad do you see in each of us 5 children? And the second part of her question is, what part of us do you see in you?
Oh my goodness, that's a hard one. I want you to know because I see so much of both of us in all of my children. But I'm going to try this one. Kathy, there is so much of Dad in her. First of all, she looks like her dad. And even from the time of a newborn, people came in the nursery and she said, "Oh, she's definitely a Beers and big brown eyes," and she is just very, very, very caring. And Dad was always really caring. I think about how he always looked to see other people's needs, and even when we were dating, every Sunday night we went to visit his grandma in a nursing home. He just cared about people. Dave Richards broke his leg. Where was Dad? Every Sunday going and cutting Dave's lawn. Dick Long bought a new house. Where was Dad? He bought a carpet cleaner, and he went and he cleaned all the carpeting in Dave's house. He was just, and then he had a stroke a week later. So even up until the moment he had a stroke, he was making sure he cared for others. And I see that so much in Kathy as a very caring person, seeing the needs of others and then doing them. Julie. Julie, all right. There's a lot of Daddy and Julie. Dad had a great work ethic, and he always was trying for a better job. He had great confidence in himself, and he knew he could go on to another challenge. So he started in a machine shop, went to college, then went to a sales job that he thought he could sell himself. He wasn't worried about the product he sold as much as selling himself. And he sold $100,000 machinery. And even when he had a stroke, they were going to let him go from his job. And he convinced those folks at the company that he never sold with his body. He sold with who he was. And I see that in Julie. Like, she goes from being a teacher to a principal and then beginning her own school and having the confidence in herself to be able to do that. So it's one way I see Julie. Amy. Amy's very much like her father. Some of the things that I see immediately, Amy likes to have fun. And Amy also loves her marriage. And I know how much Dad loved his marriage. And I think about our early years before a stroke and how Dad did crazy things like a Ready Whip can, chasing me through the house with a Ready Whip can. And when I look in Amy's refrigerator and I see whipped cream, I thought, how did she know about that? And then Dad liked a nice car. Dad was always a Chevrolet convertible, wanted to keep up with the nicest of cars. I don't even know what a make is. Dad knew exactly if they had white walls or whatever. And in Amy also, Dad was a fine dresser. He liked his clothing. He liked to look sharp. Always a suit and a tie. And even when he was asked to plan his funeral before he had surgery, he picked out a pinstripe suit in his closet because he wanted to look good in his casket. So clothing was very important. So now that Amy's really into clothing, I can see that too. So my son, my only son,
boy.
oh my goodness, there is so much about, first of all, your sense of humor. You just got your dad's sense of humor and the craziness that Dad liked to do just to have fun. But more than that, Dad was extremely well organized. He worked out of the house. That was his home office, and his real office was in Chicago. So that downstairs bedroom was his office, and I got to do his filing and some of his paperwork. And he was always after me to make sure that I had it well organized, and it was he got that skill. I don't have it, but he tried to teach it to me. So he was very well organized, and also very, very creative in his job. But like I said, he thought he was selling a product with who he was and not with the product that he sold. And I see that you, Jim, when I see all the things that you've done all along, always going into another better position, that you thought you could be who you were called to be. And I certainly see that in First D. Certainly see that. And Beth, you're a fun one to think about because, you know, I can remember the day that I told Dad I was pregnant. And Dad giving me the biggest thumbs up and then spelling out to me, I'm so happy I'm still a man and God lets me be a father. So from the very, very beginning of time, you've just brought so much joy to our family. But Dad also just liked to have fun. Bethy's just a fun-loving kid. Bethy doesn't seem to have a worry in the world. She just enjoys life, and I see that so much in her father. So, okay, now in me,
yes,
this was harder to do. Kathy, I see so much of myself in Kathy. And sometimes Kathy and I will be talking to each other and we can be on the same topic at the same time and ask the same question at the same time. Our minds are really kind of synced. But, and Kathy's so creative, that creativity I see in myself too. But there's one word that I see so much in Kathy that I see in myself, and it's a blessing and it's a curse. And that's the word inclusive. Kathy always wants to include everyone. Everybody. She never wants anyone to feel left out. And that can be a curse as well as a blessing. But I see that on myself too. I'm always, did you invite? Did you invite? Did you invite? So let's say that one for Kathy. And for Julie, again, I see so much of myself as a teacher and her ability to teach and to pass on that knowledge to another child. But more than that, in teaching, it's fun to stand by and watch Julie be a principal and hear her find the goodness in every teacher. Even though I know sometimes she might struggle, she always finds something good. And same thing with the child. When I go into a building and she can call every child by name and find goodness in every child, even though some of them I'm sure are driving her crazy. So that's Julie. And Amy was called Amy Joy from the beginning of time. And I'm going to say that the thing I see most in Amy is her love of being married. You know, she loves Rick. And there's no doubt she loves Rick, and that Rick loves her, and how they love to be together. And you know, when she says she comes home from work and Ricky will rub her feet, and I can't say Dad ever rubbed my feet, but he did like to just be together, just being on a couch watching television or whatever. So just loved being married. That was a gift. And you, my son, I said this to you all the time, let's look at our thumbs right away because we've got some green thumbs there. But it's more than a green thumb. It's the love of nature. It's the love of your job that brings you out into nature every day. And to see the big picture of nature. You know, when you're at a golf course, you're not just looking at the plants in a basket, you're looking at how the entire presentation is. And I do see myself in gardening, but I see myself also in creativity. When you were doing those videos, you know, that's one thing I say every day when I'm home here during this isolation is I need my creativity, you know. And it's funny, we were making posters for Julie's drive-by, and it just brought the creativity out of me to make a stupid poster. But there's something that there's very fulfilling in being creative. So I certainly see those creative. And I love the way you love Kimmy, and I love the fact that, you know, Dad used to travel all week on a job. And he'd come home on a Friday night, he'd take me to the cabin for dinner, even though I know he just wanted to stay home. I knew he knew I needed to get out. And I see that you do that nice things for Kimmy too.
I drove by the cabin on the way here today.
Oh, special place. And Bethy, I see a lot of myself in Bethy. She is a great mother, a great mother. I love to watch her mothering her kids. And I love the fact that, you know, for years our house had little villages of little people running around, And I see that in Bethy when her house is a total mess, you know, not in a bad sense of the word. It's clean, but she allows her children to have fun. And the kitchen table might not have been eaten at for a long time because she was eating here, but her kitchen table would have a puzzle on it or have games on it or have little Mary's little people on it. So her tolerance for allowing that to her, for her children to be their childhood. So.
Awesome.
Gotcha.
Great answer. I mean, figure your principal would give us a 10-part question there. So
right.
I think our next question from our nurse, Amy, might be a little bit easier, but maybe not. So here's what Amy asked you, Mom. She says, Mom, I know how much your marriage meant to you and how every day you truly lived the vows you made. And as I try to love the way you do, to have and to hold from this day forward, for better or for worse, for richer for poorer, to love and cherish this day forward as long as I shall live with Rick. If you were to write your own vows to Dad today, what would they be?
That was a very hard question to ask because I think those vows are very inclusive. But we went to Lourdes on about our 17th year of marriage, and it was difficult. First of all, to get to Lourdes was difficult, but second of all, it was difficult to live a new marriage because there's always that longing that this is how our marriage was supposed to be. And so we went to confession together in Lourdes, and the priest said to us, I don't know what to give you for a penance. And Jim's dad spelled out, I want to marry my wife at the grotto. And so we bought new rings, got rid of our diamonds, and we got new rings in Lourdes, and we had a little wedding feast, but we had new vows. And those are the vows I would choose, because it was 2 Corinthians. I will be patient, I will be kind, I will endure all things, I will be forgiving, I will be faithful, I will never give up. And I think that those vows say it very profoundly. And if I could add one more, I'd say almost a prayer, Lord, give us eyes that look beyond the body and see the person who's really there. So thank you, Amy, for making me think.
That was a good question, Amy.
Yeah.
You ready for mine?
Yeah.
So my question is, every time I went over to Grandpa Burns' house growing up, golf was always on Worldwide Sports. And all the boys at the house, I was just wondering, based on the values that golf has taught me in life, like integrity and honesty and stuff like that, do you see yourself as a golfer, maybe if life gave you a different set of cards to play?
That was a great question. So it did make me reflect because
golf takes a lot of time, and you didn't have a lot of time in your life. So. And
Grandpa did have a great love for golf. And my brother George was on the golf team at Euclid High and was one of the best of the team. And that always made Dad very, very proud that his son George was a great golfer. And Jim was a golfer too. And many times when we lived on South Lake Shore, Dad and George and Jim would go golfing. The closest I got to it then was that George made me lay in the grass and he put a golf ball on my nose and he wanted to hit it off my nose. Maybe that's why I never played golf.
It's like a current trick shot right now.
I'm not going to try it. No, not on one of your videos. But we moved to Willowick, and right across the street from where Shoregate is now was a golf course. And so as a 13-year-old, I'd mosey over to the golf course, and for $1.25, you could pick a bucket of balls up off the course. And so I'd get $1.25 for picking up a bunch of golf balls. So that's the closest I ever get to a golf course. In all honesty, I didn't know women golfed. So again, the word golf helps me remember what's, maybe in my day there weren't a lot of women golfers. I have to check that one out.
I mean, some say golf stands for gentlemen only, ladies forbidden, but that's not true. But.
Okay, that's not true.
No, but there wasn't a lot of ladies back then.
Okay, well there wasn't one. And plus the fact, in my whole life, my father never put a golf club in my hand or suggested that that's something we could do together. I never even had the opportunity. Dad was he went out a few times, but that wasn't his game. Baseball was his game. And then he had a stroke so young. When you're 29, you have a stroke, life changed quick. But yes, you're right about the values that I've learned. I've learned so much through First Tee especially. I love nature. I love the greens. I would love to be able to walk outside and smell the fresh air and maybe I'd be a good golfer. Who knows?
Do it,
But
9 holes.
you certainly. Oh, that's the other thing is when you took me for a ride in the golf cart at Aurora, there was just something inside of me that the beauty of the course, just that the hills. I mean, just never ventured to see that how beautiful it was. So sorry I didn't have that chance.
So I'm kind of glad because maybe, like Dad said, you would have beat me.
Oh, there you go.
So,
There you go.
you never know. You never know. All right, we are down to the Miracle Baby. Miracle Baby Bethy. She says, her question is, which is a good one for little Beth. She says, what do you think you and Dad did as we grew up to ensure that all of us children would get along as we grew older in life? And I think that's a great question because I know a lot of people that don't even talk to their brothers and sisters. So, do I wish I had another brother to argue with? Maybe, but I do love my 4 sisters. So, there you go.
Oh, I'm sorry I never gave you a brother.
That was almost my question.
Okay, no, I'm sorry. Well, not sorry, because I think you turned out just perfect having sisters. And that's a tough question because I am blessed. I know lots of women whose children don't speak to them or whose children don't speak to each other. And in doing my bereavement work at church, I can't count the times that families come in and they're not speaking to another sibling. And that sibling's just lost a mother, but there's not a connection. So I feel richly blessed. Do I give all that credit to Dad and I? I'm not sure. Some things that really hit me were, and I say this to Beth, I have vivid memories of girls not getting along with each other. I have a vivid memory of Julie going to Lay Catholic and never admitting that Kathy was her sister. I have a memory of Amy and Julie fighting on the living room floor, pulling hair over who was going to wear a shirt. I have a memory of you screaming because Julie took your golf shirt to Kent with her, and she hid it in her trunk, and you were upset with her for doing that. And then I remember one time you came home from 8th grade, and Bethy had all her Barbies on your bunk beds, and you looked at me and you said, "Mom, I need my own room." So, yeah, there were lots of times that everybody didn't get along like they do today. But the one question I keep saying to myself, and I think I've said this enough times, is if you can't say something good about each other, don't say anything at all. And I don't know if that helped, but maybe, and then I kind of put Dad into the equation. I think everybody loved Dad so much that if they want to get along with each other, then if they want to love their dad, then they got to get along with each other. So I don't know. I'm blessed. That's the best word I can say. I'm extremely blessed to celebrate Mother's Day with 5 kids who love me.
Well, I can speak on my 4 sisters. We were probably all afraid to take that message from Dad, if that situation happens. So, awesome. Well, what a wonderful opportunity. Happy Mother's Day.
Thank you. It just has been, and it will be.
Yeah, for us all to ask Mom one question that we really wanted to ask her. So, from the Beers family to your family, we wish you both a happy Mother's Day, and thank you, Mom.
I love you.
Love you too.